Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Issues, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Richfield. Tonight, as we almost always do, the last number of Junes anyway, we're going to talk about the fun events in Richfield during the summer. And the first one we're going to talk about is the Richfield Beautiful, which for the last couple of years anyway has been a tour of gardens in Richfield. And I'm very happy to have with me Sue Rosenberg, who's actually one of the founders of Richfield Beautiful. She actually started it while you were on the city council, right?
It was started in 2003.
03, so we're 11 years
11 years. We did take a little hiatus for a couple of years, but last year was the 75th anniversary of the Richfield Garden Club, so we kind of decided to get back into it. And so this year we just decided to keep it going because we have so much fun.
And you've been also president for a few years anyway of the Richfield Garden Club.
That's right.
And they're essentially the sponsors of Rich.
You know,
would you not say that?
Well, no, they are, and certainly they help with volunteers, and what the main sponsor, the city of Richfield and the Richfield Tourism Board.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So the city of Richfield, we really couldn't do it without the help of the staff, from the Richfield staff, and then I got a nice grant from the Richfield Tourism Board.
And that helps
That helps with the marketing and with the maps.
Okay, let's start talking about actually what's going to be on the tour this year, and then we'll talk about how people get started, so to speak, on the tour. So,
okay, well, the way I describe it this year is it's wildly diverse and beautiful, all wrapped up into one tour. And I say we have dinosaurs, kids, straw bales, and beauty. That's kind of where we are. And it's really a diverse tour this year. And
okay, take the first one. What was the first one?
The first one was dinosaurs.
Okay, explain that.
Okay, we have a garden that is really fun. And this person has a dinosaur made out of wrenches in her yard.
Dinosaurs made out of wrenches.
And she has incredibly colorful, fun yard. And it has, she has all kinds of containers. She's primarily annuals, doesn't have, not the formal gardens that you see in the garden magazines, but when you walk in, it's just a lot of fun. And the person, the gardener, is just a real fun person, and it's just going to be a real interesting place to be in because she uses anything that of her neighborhood that she finds broken, she paints it up and plants flowers in it. And so when you walk in, it's just really wild. She has a purple shed. She has window panes on her fence. It's all painted with flowers, and it is really a fun garden.
I can imagine that.
So I was really glad to have her because it's just so different, and that kind of led to this wildly diverse.
Yeah.
And then when we talk about straw bales, we have a house that has 27 straw bales, and they're doing their gardening in that. It's right on the corner of 66th and Linwood, and I'm sure that people, when they drive by, they see it, and they go, wonder what that's all about. Well, this person has been growing really strong, good vegetables out of straw bales.
I would imagine there's not a weed problem as much.
There's not a weed problem. You have to prepare the straw bales for a couple of weeks before you plant with fertilizer to kind of get all that fermentation and get all the bacteria working, and you get really healthy plants. But she'll be there to explain that all to people, and it's really an interesting garden. It's not your beautiful, like I said, garden magazine garden, but you're going to learn a lot when you go there, and it'll be something you can walk away and say, maybe I'll try that next year.
I can see that. I get tired of pulling weeds in my garden. And with all this rain, the weeds grow a lot faster than the vegetables.
And so she's had really good success.
That's fantastic.
So that will be fun. The other thing is kids. We have kids this year, and we have 2 schools on our garden tour. We have the Richfield STEM School.
Where is that located?
That is, the Richfield STEM School is located at 7020 12th Avenue South.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the one over on
By the, what's the elementary over there? I'm blanking.
Centennial. But it's
Centennial.
a few blocks away from
Wait,
Centennial. But it's
Centennial.
right on 70th.
Okay.
And it's more, you go through the doors, and it's the inner area, the inner garden. And the kids have learned, have planted, and they have various landforms. They have a prairie, they have a water feature, and there will be kids there. There'll be students there that will be able to lead the participants around and kind of explain what's going on.
And we probably should mention, for those that may not be or be familiar with the acronym, STEM is Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math School.
Yeah.
And that's a, what do they call that, an interest.
Yeah, it's an interest.
School.
It's like it's just a kind of, it's a school that just targets those areas, although they do have other things too. But these are kids who really are interested in the math and the sciences.
Yeah.
And then the other school we have is the middle school. It's on 70th and it's 7461 Oliver Avenue South. And that
used to be, for people that might remember it better, as the junior high.
It used to be junior high when my
it was the junior high.
Girls were in school. But they have raised vegetable gardens, and the teachers, both the schools, the teachers are just great because they really want to give the kids a really well-rounded, broad experience. And we're looking for ways to partner with the schools because we love to get people into the schools, and this is one way to do it. So they can really see the successes and see what our kids are doing.
Is this the science classes coming
No,
through?
these are just teachers that have an interest in that. They have and some time that they can devote to it. These are like after-school activities for the kids. Last year they grew tomatoes. They grew several types of herbs. So then the students could take them home.
And then they take them home to
Yeah.
eat.
So it's just wonderful.
So these kids obviously come back to work on it during the summer then a little bit.
They are the summer school participants.
Okay.
There is some issues with some transportation, and I know that the teachers are really working to overcome that because I've requested that the students be there on hand to act as docents to kind of show the participants around and kind of be proud of what they've done.
Yeah, what a good experience.
It
I mean,
will be.
It's not obviously they're getting the gardening, the science that always comes with gardening, but they're also getting the ability to speak to adults that they've never encountered before, which is good for self-confidence and, quite frankly, the real world.
They can learn, and they've learned how to play in the dirt and see what happens when you plant the seeds and and what it grows into, and you can eat whatever comes out. So that's going to be the two schools, and we're really excited to have them on.
Yeah.
And another public garden that we're really happy about is Oak Grove Lutheran Church. And they are right on 7045 Lindale.
Yeah.
And what this is a community garden. It's members of the congregation that have decided to plant, and it's a pesticide. There's no chemicals allowed in any of the gardens, and they can grow and for their own family, and it's just beautiful. I mean, it's just a wonderful thing to have, and to have a congregation willing to do this. And two of the gardens do go for produce for VEEP, the food shelf.
Okay.
And so there's a meeting that I attend once a month there. The Richfield Foundation meets there. And I kept seeing this all last summer, and I thought this would be an ideal garden to have on for this year because it's just another way that gardening is meeting a lot of needs other than just the actual feeding and doing. It's meeting some spiritual, it's meeting friendship. I mean, it's a real community building activity, and they impressed me so much with what was going on there that I really wanted to have them on the tour.
I had no idea, and people that go there might be other churches, Bloomington, Richfield, wherever, that might, this is something we can do.
Yeah, I really do love their description. It says the church's community vegetable garden is designed to nourish bodies and souls in peaceful, well-kept environment free from pesticides and harmful chemicals. So I think that really says it all. It's just a very peaceful, loving way to come together and do something really special.
And those of us that garden know that already.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember it was a way to escape, teenagers, and it was a way to escape all the stress of work. Is just go out there and work with the soil and then pull weeds and plant things. It is.
And when you're doing with a lot of other people, especially when you have a like-minded group that are in a church, it just feels like, I'm sure it just really broadens their whole spiritual experience.
They probably talk books and other things.
Probably do, but it's just wonderful. And I'm really happy to feature them. Shall I go on?
Yep.
Okay, another one that I'm really kind of excited about, and this person has been on the tour before, but at 6821 Sheridan Avenue South, and I'll read how they describe their gardens. To attract more songbirds in her yard, this gardener removed all of her sod and now has a vibrant landscape of mostly native plants that also benefit butterflies and other pollinators. It's a mini nature preserve in a small Richfield yard. And this yard, when you go into it, you're going to just be overwhelmed with all of the native plants and how they interact with the birds. And she keeps the small critters like the bunnies out, but she has a large array of songbirds that come into her yard. And it's just so different, but it's really pretty special. And Michelle has been on our tour before, and she was really a hit. So I was thinking I'm really kind of going for diversity this year, and that's what I wanted.
Yeah, and that's, it needs to be different. Otherwise, if we're saying all these quote works of art, well, they're fun and they're great.
Well, we have those too.
Oh, you have some of those?
We have those too.
Okay.
We have one that is on 7044 Park Avenue. And this garden is gorgeous with a variety of plantings and a beautiful water feature. This will be a high point if you're looking for a relaxing garden with serene surroundings. This is your garden, catalog garden, and it's beautiful. And it has lots and lots of hard work has gone into it. And so, we have that. We have the full range too. And then we got one other one that is on 7461 Oliver, and I think I just got the wrong address as I'm looking at that, but I'll change that. The Spartan Garden, no, excuse me, that's Oliver. Let me see where we're at here. 6832 Oliver. This garden is an absolutely beautiful, doable garden that has been created and maintained by the gardeners. You will walk away smiling, filled with ideas on how to make your own space so attractive. And this is a small garden, but it's doable. And Mary Olafson, who's my co-chair, and I have always said that we want gardens that are doable. We can all look at the pictures and we can say, but when you walk away from some of the more spectacular gardens, you go, man, there's no way I could do this.
Yeah, I work full time.
But when you walk into this garden, you say, there might be a way I can do this. And there's so many beautiful features with it that there's something you're going to take away.
And we started talking about the gardens and stuff. We forgot to mention what date.
It's July 12th, 1 to 5.
Wonderful.
It's the weekend after the 4th of July festivities, and we're just hoping it'll be a dry day, but if it's raining, gardeners love the rain, so rain or shine, we'll be there.
Unless the wind's blowing high.
Well, unless we have a tornado.
You can have rain jackets, ponchos, and an umbrella and still get around. Pretty good.
So that's our 8 gardens, and I think
fantastic.
like I said, we just have a wildly diverse garden.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the school and the church is a whole new concept.
Well, I think that's what gardening is. And I think we have to think about gardening in a different way, that we're looking for sustainability, we're looking for food source. We're not just looking for beauty and ornamental, even though that has a really strong place and we need to keep that. But I think some people are looking for other things. They're looking for urban farming and to be a more productive type of garden where they can get their food, and also sustainability so it can kind of give back to the soil. The straw bale gardens are used then in compost the next year. So it does kind of give back and feed that so you can have a more productive crop than the following year.
And I think you're right. And I was happy to learn that the food shelves will take garden produce.
Absolutely.
And I think that's very important for people to know. I mean, I've got rhubarb that grows like a weed, and I now know I can give rhubarb to Veep, which is...
And I work for Loaves and Fishes, and Loaves and Fishes would be more than happy to take for any of their meals that they provide at Hope Presbyterian Church.
Oh.
So, people in, of all economic levels, they're looking for the same thing: nutritional food, good food, and know where their food's coming from. And I think this is why gardening is really expanding out to cover those needs.
And that's good. So how do we get into the tour, so to speak? What's the procedure?
Well, after July 2nd or so, we're going to have the maps in all of the community buildings. And they are still $5 each. And they're going to be in all the liquor stores. They will be at the community center. They will be at City Hall and Wood Lake Nature Center. And that people can just go in and buy those. And then it's a self-guided tour. And generally people start on either east or the west side. And then they just do it at their own pace. I always tell people who are in the middle, you may have to wait. Don't get too worked up that you're not getting any visitors, because they're either starting at one end or the other.
Yeah.
And so it's just really a fun afternoon, and we really get some really good feedback. Last year we had about 125 people come, and we feel like that's a really major success.
That's when you do that, and it'll be advertised, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're getting some. I'm hoping that this will be a good. When I say dinosaur kids, straw bales, and beauty, that's got to be a hook for them.
Dinosaurs gonna really hook them. But that's great,
It's fun. We want fun. We don't, you want to gasp and go, oh, ooh and ah, but you also want to have a few laughs, and this garden's going to bring you that. But you're also going to be really amazed at what the kids do and what the church group does. So you'll walk, and the straw bales, that's really going to be different.
Yeah, I think the Cornerstone group down at between 76th and 77th Glendale had one straw bale or two back in their shopping area. They just had it right alongside one or two of the stores.
Well, we had them on the tour, I'm going to say like in 2010 or something, and because they were doing a lot of gardening around the lamppost. They had flower pots set up so that they could grow food for restaurants that were in that area. So, it's starting to being done more and more. Rooftop gardening, whatever, yeah.
Well, and I don't know if people follow the articles in the paper, but the Star Tribune really does a good job on gardening and with helpful hints and which herbs to use with what and all that kind of thing. So gardening is truly educational. You learn something every day. But I am discovering, too, the beauty of the native flowers are really something.
Well, then you're going to love this garden that's on Sheridan if you like that.
Yeah.
Because her whole yard is native flowers.
And then those plants don't seem to be affected as much by dry conditions or rainy conditions. They seem to be able to take anything.
Their roots go deep enough, and because they're perennials and they come back.
They're perennials. And even last year I allowed a lot of coneflowers to the rabbits. But guess what? They're back this year.
They're hardy. Very hardy.
Those roots still stay productive. Let's talk a little bit about garden clubs. Now, garden clubs may be changing too a little bit.
Yeah, I think they're going to be forced to do that, because if anybody looks at the history of the Richfield Garden Club, they started back in the 30s. At one point, they had like 800 members.
800?
And they had like 30 chapters. We're down to about 35 now members with 2 chapters. And, at that time, people could have afternoon meetings in their gardens, and the women, for the most part, stayed home. And they didn't have the job responsibilities and all the activities that kids are going, they're being pulled at. So I think that's part of the reason why the garden clubs, their population has really gone down.
And the Richfield, have you talked about what?
We've talked about it. There is, because we are aging, and so there has to be some discussion and some decisions made on how we're going to deal with this, or there won't be a garden club
Anymore.
Yeah.
I know the Minneapolis Star Tribune had an article on garden
Right.
clubs reinventing themselves, because Richfield is not unique. This is happening elsewhere.
And I think they're going to have to not be so concerned with meetings and protocols and all of that. That, a lot of people now want to learn something, they want to learn it fast, they want to learn it now, and they want to have the, they just don't want to sit through meetings, and because they get a lot of meetings at work, and they want to be able to just learn something and go home and do it. And that's what I think we're going to have to be going to.
Is there like a Minnesota Association of Garden Clubs?
And the Federated, and the National Garden Club, and we are in our own area, the Upper Midwest area, and that's along with several other states. And we've heard from some of the directors from that we are not unique at all in the state of Minnesota.
Yeah, the other people have the same
Other
problem.
areas are having the same thing.
I would think that something would be lost if garden clubs didn't exist anymore.
Well, Richfield would certainly lose, because one of the things that we maintain is the garden over at the community center. And we have the Blue Star Memorial that was installed there last summer. And we have a beautiful garden right around the flagpole. We planted all that about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's going to be really pretty when it all fills in around. The Blue Star Memorial is a memorial that has been it's dedicated to veterans.
Okay.
And so it's sponsored by the National Federated Garden Clubs. And so we decided we wanted to put our own memorial here in Richfield, and we decided on the community center.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
we thought, because I'm sure there's a lot of veterans over there who would appreciate being recognized. And we do have our wonderful Veterans Memorial in Vets Park, but we thought that our Blue Star Memorial would probably get lost in all the big...
I would agree. And while the one in Vets Park is, people go there and visit it, but it's at the community center with all the seniors activities where these veterans really are
see it.
Staying there for a period of time.
And when it's in the flower bed, it just really is really pretty. So that is one thing we do for the community, and the community center director is really grateful, and so we were able to hold our meetings there.
Well, and with the costs and budget cuts in city government and everything, staff certainly doesn't have time to put out a garden or have the money really to purchase the plants that you would need to do that. So I'm sure they will.
I know that it's really appreciated. And there's been some talk, if the band shell comes into Veterans Park, that there's something that the garden club could do with that too. I had to remind them that a lot of our members are getting elderly, but we can certainly be mentors.
Yep, and maybe that's...
And we can be teachers. Yeah.
And then that's maybe enough to draw some of the younger...
Get some of the younger ones in there to add to the natural beauty of the park that's there.
Yes. I mean, I would love to see some natural prairie flowers and stuff planted
something that
around.
didn't take a lot of maintenance.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, am I correct, you also do like a show at least once a year?
We have the Tri-City Flower Show, and this year it's going to be June, it's exactly 1 week after the Richfield Beautiful, so that's July 19th, and it's at Southtown Shopping Center, and it's called Tri-City because Bloomington, Edina, and Richfield come together and do a flower show, and that is really something to see, because they have all the categories. They have flower arranging, design, but they also have a category for the plants that you have in your garden that to be judged and not necessarily design. So, and they have everything from, the minis and how people put in little tiny vases all the way to this big, really extravagant.
Fairy gardens.
They have fairy gardens. Yep, yeah.
And that's becoming a new thing.
That's another fun thing to do.
Tell me where this whole concept of fairy gardens.
It's like playing house. It's doll houses for adults.
Doll houses for adults.
So because you get the mini stuff, mini plants, and you make a flower arrangement as a result of that.
Do people do it inside and outside?
Inside and outside. And one of our sites on the tour a couple of years ago, we had a person who had a really extensive fairy garden in her front yard, and it was really a hit. People kept talking about that. So
I know it took me. I kept hearing the term, and finally I said, "What is a fairy garden?"
I entered one in the garden Tri-City Flower Show a couple of years ago, and I got a second place on it, so I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Well, again, I think we, gardeners just have something common, and that's the love of working in the soil and working with living
and seeing the
plants.
results. And there's nothing like the quiet of watching things grow, and that's what I say. It's so peaceful,
true.
And it brings so much relaxation. And when you've got things going on that's really bothering you, when you seem like when you're out there pulling those weeds and deadheading, it all kind of goes away.
It is a
very
stress
peaceful.
reducer. Yep.
And it heals a lot.
Yep. I noticed that. And growing up on a farm, and obviously having a big vegetable garden, I learned to appreciate that time alone. And I mean, that's where teenage issues and teenage stress, kind of dissipated when I was out pulling weeds. Of course, I was being made to pull weeds, but I look back on it, it was a very good
Well, you never know. You might
experience.
see a few fairies in those gardens, too, at night.
I might.
Yeah, you might.
Okay, I'll keep my eyes on.
Yep.
Well, I just really want to thank Susan. I know you're a busy person. And I should say, too, to our audience that Sue is the incoming president of the League of Women Voters. So we really appreciate that.
I'm looking forward to it, believe me.
Yep, and so we really appreciate you coming on. And now to my viewers, we're going to switch people, or at least switch guests, because we're going to talk about the Urban Wildland Half Marathon and 5K that benefits the Wood Lake Nature Center, which is probably in some ways, I like to say, the prize jewel of Richfield. I think you might agree with that.
Absolutely.
So, okay, we'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to our second segment of the show. This is our other, before I get into the half marathon, I should also talk about one of our summer events here in Richfield. Due to scheduling of filming, we are kind of late, and the 4th of July events are coming up pretty fast. But for the benefit of the viewing audience and a reminder of the 4th of July events in Richfield, I'm going to quickly go through the schedule here. On Wednesday, July 2nd, there will be a kiddie parade at 5:30, and that's always cute. See the little kids with the decorated bicycles, tricycles, wagons, whatever. And then 6 o'clock on, it's family night at the park, Vets Park. And there'll be music, activities, things to do, and a picnic. And then at 9 or 9:30, depending on when dusk arrives exactly, there will be a movie in the park. And this year it's Despicable Me 2, which I found absolutely delightful when I saw it. It was so cute and humorous and just a really good family movie. Then on Thursday, July 3rd, the car show is from 10 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. And that's always popular with all sorts of crowds. And then from 6 to 11 is street dance, which is near and dear to my heart because I was the chair of the street dance for a number of years. And this year the band is the Rockin' Hollywoods. So all of those that grew up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, I would encourage them to come because they'll revisit their teenage years. Then on Friday, which is the 4th of July, the parade is at 1 p.m., and that's always fun for families. And then there'll be music in the park from 7 till 10 p.m., and then followed at 10 by our fireworks, and that's always spectacular. So lots of fun things to do in Richfield. And I should also say on Saturday, July 5th at the Richfield High School auditorium, there will be the Richfield Ambassadors coronation at 6 p.m. So the 4th of July weekend is a hopping weekend in Richfield. And if you have not participated in the events in previous years, please consider doing so. I can guarantee that they'll be fun. So again, the events on July 2nd, 3rd, and 4th for the Richfield 4th of July celebration. Also, the 4th of July committee, which is a group of volunteers, is always looking for volunteers for these events, and also money. These things, some of these things come with pretty high price tags. So visit their website. There's links to them on the City of Richfield website. But please think about joining your Richfield neighbors and celebrating the 4th. Okay, I'm very pleased to have with me Amy. Amy, what is your last name? I'm blanking on
Yeah,
this.
it's Markle.
Markle, that was it. I was told a couple days ago, and then all of a sudden I realized I forgot to get that straight in my head before we went on the air. Amy is a naturalist at the Woodlake Nature Center. Amy, what does it take to be a naturalist, and how did you end up at Woodlake?
Yeah, well, I think as a young kid, I spent a lot of time in the outdoors. I had a lot of early influences. Our family went camping a lot. We went a lot to national parks and state parks, and I just fell in love with the outdoors, and I always knew if I could, have the opportunity to teach people about nature, I'd be the happiest girl. So I knew early on I wanted to go to school to do something with environmental education and interpretation. So I went to school and have a couple degrees in biology and environmental education and a master's degree. And I've worked for the National Park Service and state parks and environmental learning centers. And then the opportunity came, to come to Woodlake, and I was really excited. I'm from Rosemount, so it felt good to come back home because I'd traveled around the country for many years, so it felt good to kind of settle down and spread my roots.
In Minnesota again?
Yeah, yep.
And what was it besides the job opportunity, just being there? What other things attracted you to Woodlake?
Definitely the people. I think working at a national park, you get visitors every day from around the country and the world, and you really never know the impact you have on them. A lot of times they'll come to a class, you'll answer questions, and then they leave. But being at a community-based nature center, I have the opportunity to really, I think, affect people and create relationships, and I think that really attracted me, just to be able to, know our neighbors. People come through, and I feel like I know a lot of the faces and names, and I know the kids, and I've seen them grow up with the unique environmental ed program we have with Richfield Public Schools. I've seen kids start in kindergarten, and now, they're in high school, and that's been really neat to see them grow up and learn with me at Woodlake.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It really is a jewel.
It really is. Coming from other places in the country and seeing how things work, you really do realize how special this is, to have this kind of oasis in the middle of the city, and it's such a great opportunity for really everybody to come and kind of de-stress, walk the trails, kind of reconnect with nature, and definitely for students too, just to have those early opportunities to interact with nature and be comfortable being outside.
Well, and I think too, there's economic issues and just maybe parents who aren't as interested in leaving the metro area and getting to see the outdoors. I mean, this is the only opportunity that kids have to really encounter nature.
Yeah, it's really special when you get the inner city, groups out. You just see eyes open and the senses come alive, and just all sorts of great comments from students. They really see it as a wilderness, and for them, it is a wilderness. And it's nice because we're on the bus line. It's pretty easy to bike to Wood Lake, as opposed to a lot of state parks and even other nature centers. They're a little harder to get to. But just 5 minutes shy of downtown, it's really accessible to the masses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so positive.
It is.
Well, besides being a naturalist there, and we'll talk about Wood Lake more later,
Yeah.
but one of your duties is to kind of coordinate one of the two really major fundraisers, one being the annual dinner and all of that as a fundraiser. Well, I guess you do a golf something or other too.
Yeah, we kind of switched it up. This spring we did a birdathon, so I'll have to come back and tell you all about the
we'll
birdathon.
talk about that too.
Yeah.
But, and that is what it's called, and let's see if I get this right, Urban Wildland Half Marathon and 5K.
You got it.
I got it.
You got
That's
it.
an accomplishment.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about it, when it started.
Yeah, so it started in 2003. As we said, Wood Lake is pretty amazing in that we have this partnership with the local public school district. So each student, kindergarten through 6th grade, comes out 3 times a year for environmental ed and science classes. And in 2003, with budgets the way they were, a lot of the field trip funding got cut. And we've had this ongoing partnership since 1971, since the
It was almost from the beginning.
Yeah, from the beginning. And it's very kind of near and dear to us. It's definitely part of the mission of who we are and what we do to reach out to our local community. And we didn't want to see the partnership fizzle out, so we decided to create a fundraiser that could help support the program. And so in 2003, the races were created, and it started off just to see if we could do it, and it went from hundreds of people to now our race usually fills at capacity with a little over 1,500 runners.
1,500
Yeah,
runners.
it's a unique race. We wanted to kind of create a niche for ourselves, because any given weekend, in the cities, you can run a half marathon, a full marathon, any distance. And so we wanted to create something unique that really kind of, encapsulated who we are. And so we made it Minnesota's No Waste race. It's a sustainable green race. And we really kind of created it as a model event for other races to kind of follow suit. And so I think what makes our race really unique is you come and everything's composted. We try to do local organic food. Bibs get recycled. The chip timing gets recycled. The energy that's used to run our clocks and stuff, it's all used off solar power. We have solar batteries there. So we try to look at every facet of the race and think, how can we make this more environmentally responsible? And I think we've come to a point where we've done, I think, as much as we almost can. But every year it seems like there's new little things we've tried to do a little better.
Well, I think one year you had T-shirts made out of bamboo.
Yeah, yep. And so this year, I think about 50% of the T-shirts are made from a recycled plastic content. And it's still a nice, athletic wicking shirt that runners like to wear. And it's not, 100% new materials, so it's recycled.
50% recycled plastic.
Yeah,
in
you
a
would never
T-shirt.
know. And it's soft and it feels good to exercise in. So
Oh, wow.
yeah.
So, okay, where's the route? And well, we should talk about what day it is.
Yeah, so it's going to be Saturday, August 2nd. It's always that first Saturday in August. And the start is going to be at the Richfield Ice Arena. And everyone kind of lines up in a start chute in front of the arena. And the half marathon will start at 7. The 5K races start at 7:15. And the half marathon route is a certified USA track and field route. And what that means is you can actually use it as a qualifying race for a good weight placement for Twin Cities Marathon.
Okay.
And our half marathon is kind of on the runner's calendar. It's just perfect in your training for the Twin Cities full. So we do get a lot of competitive runners. We have a flat, fast course, so people tend to get their PR personal records. But it goes counterclockwise through Richfield. We tried to create a course that would showcase a lot of the beautiful green spaces the city has. It winds through Richfield Lake, and then it heads down to Wood Lake. It'll go through Taft Park and kind of goes up through Veterans Park and kind of ends right behind the ice arena. So the start and finish are all right there. The 5K course is a little different. It heads out around through Veterans Park, up around Mother Lake, and then kind of back. It's kind of an out and back. But both of them are nice because you're in the trees. There's quite a bit of shade, a lot of natural green scenery.
Well, and Richfield has just incredible canopy of
does,
trees.
yep.
So
Runners like the shade,
I was just
especially in August.
yeah, and even though they start early, it still can get warm.
Yeah, it can be humid.
So-
Yep.
And do the runners primarily come from the metro area, or?
It's nice with our registration technology. We can really look at the demographics. The majority do come from the metro area, but we do get quite a few runners from Mankato, Rochester, St. Cloud, some of the other big cities. And we always get a handful from across the country as well. I think people come visit friends and they want to do an event together. So we've gotten runners, from Florida, Colorado, California, and they make it a big family event.
And kind of maybe they have relatives in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a way to come
Yeah.
back.
Exactly.
Well, that's cool. And you have volunteers, I assume, at the water stops?
Yeah, the event takes about 200 volunteers. So if anyone in the community, would love to be a part of it, we really have a job for just about anybody. And some literally take half an hour, and some could take hours, depending on how much time. But yeah, it takes about 200 volunteers. We have water stops kind of interspersed throughout the courses. We need help at the start and finish lines. We need help at registration. But all in all, the event goes relatively quick and it's over.
So by noontime, things are pretty.
Yeah, I'm usually sleeping, taking a nap. So it's an early start for me. Usually, I'm up at like 3.
3 o'clock
Yeah,
in the
it's
morning?
early. Yeah, yep. We're there, kind of setting up everything in the dark at 4, and
Wow.
yeah, so it's early.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah, but the race has really, I think, it's kind of set a name for itself. I've gone several other places locally and even around the country, and I see our shirts. I was recently in Haiti on a trip, and in Port-au-Prince, I saw someone wearing the Urban Wildland shirt. I was so excited to walk up, and she's like, "This is my favorite race."
Wow.
And many years ago, I climbed Mount Whitney in California, and I literally was almost to the summit, and a guy turned around wearing an Urban Wildland shirt. I was like, "What? There's our shirt." So I see it in places. I was up at Grandma's Marathon this weekend. I saw quite a few runners running in our
With our
shirts.
shirt?
Yeah, so I think people are finding out it's a great race. It's a fun event, and they're wanting to participate.
That is cool.
Yeah, it is. It's
That
fun
is
to
really
see.
cool.
I know.
At top of a mountain in California,
There it is. Yep.
Well, that's good. Anything else about the race you want to share, or we should talk about?
The prices are, to register, you can go to our website. It's www.urbanwildland.com. And you want to register early because once it's full, it's full. We don't have any day of registration. So I always encourage runners to register early. When you register, you have an opportunity to fund a field trip. So it's $3. A field trip is what we ask of each student that comes. So if people want to help and, donate an additional $3 when they register, it'll all go to the program.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then, we're also have a few little merchandise things this year. We have a really nice runner's hat. If they'd like, they can purchase one of those. We also have a couple different shirts they can order as well to help promote the race, and they're pretty snazzy.
Okay, well, let's talk about programming and for the kids especially?
Yeah, so summer's a nice time. We take a break from our school program. It's a little less formal, and kids come out. We have from the beginning of June through August different summer classes that they can take. Anywhere from a 3-year-old on up through parts of middle school age students come. We're doing an introduction to animal care coming up with a little older kids. They learn how to take care of animals, and they'll help us feed it, take care of their cages. We're going to be doing a photography class with students, talking about different elements of photography. We're doing a marsh class, a dinosaur class. There's just lots of different topics, and you're guaranteed your child will get outdoors. We try to get them outside, almost the whole time. And then, whatever the theme is for the class, we have all sorts of fun activities surrounding it, like songs, puppet shows, hikes, crafts, stories, all that good stuff. So there's really something for everybody.
So it's like a week then?
Yeah, depending on the class. With the little younger kids, it's Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And then with the older kids, it's Monday through Friday. And they're half-day classes. So you drop them off in the morning, you pick them up at lunchtime.
At lunchtime.
Yep.
Well, can't think of a better place to spend the summer.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Now, there's, I know there's a new building going up or structure going up. Tell us about the Emily Day Pavilion.
Yeah, so we have a larger picnic area at Wood Lake, and for years we've been kind of thinking it would be nice to have an outdoor pavilion that we could use for education primarily, and then when we're not using it, people could use it for get-togethers, picnics, things like that. And we really wanted to honor someone near and dear to us, Emily Day. She's been a strong leader for the Nature Center and advocate for us for years. And so we've created the Emily Day Pavilion. We've been doing some fundraising for it. We still could use a little bit more funding, but we are hoping to break ground and get going on this project this summer.
And the occasion of the beginning of this whole idea was her 100th birthday.
Yeah, it was. It was really special, just kind of a kickoff on that day and celebrate her life and kind of kick off this whole project with her there. And
she'd been a member of the FOWL board, which is the Friends of Wood Lake, for many, many years.
Many years, yeah.
Into her 90s.
Yeah, and she still makes it to the dinner. She was there this year, and she's just always been a friend of the Nature Center and a strong supporter of what we do and who we are.
I know. Emily has been with the League of Women Voters, seems like forever.
Yeah.
But she's very special to us too, so we were so pleased to see that.
Yeah, it's going to be really neat, I think, to have it up because, oftentimes you can't teach certain classes outside the whole time, so you got to be inside where there's a few more resources. But I think with a roof over our heads and stuff, we'll be able to bring even more of the class outside and get, just a little bit more outside time with a lot of students. And some of the classes we naturally are in that area teaching, so it'll be nice if there's inclement weather to be out there.
So exactly where will that be located?
When you come into the Nature Center, you'll go kind of to your right or to the east, and there's kind of you walk through a gate, and there's kind of a nice big open area where we currently have picnic tables. So it will be there. Right now we usually will play big group games there. It's kind of a nice natural open spot. We also have an area for a fire out there right now and some benches, so it'll be kind of a nice thing adjacent to that.
What other things are happening at the Nature Center?
A lot of rain, I'm sure, as people know. We've been inundated like everybody else with rain. I think right now our trails are not too user-friendly unless you have a good pair of galoshes.
Okay.
I think it's the most rain I've seen since I've been there for the last 10 years. So it's kind of funny. I'll sit out at my desk and I'll see the runners kind of run by my window, and it gets flooded just down the trail from the building, and then I start to see them 30 seconds later run back. So I think it's going to be a while till we completely dry out and they're in really good shape. It's just with all the rain, you can only get so much of it out of the marsh at a time. We have one outflow,
flow, yeah.
Yeah, so it'll definitely take a few weeks, I think, of no rain and drying out and some maintenance to get them back into good shape.
Obviously, the bridge is underwater.
Yeah, and that's kind of inaccessible too. The trails all around it have flooded. I was out on this past Friday, and there were actually ducks swimming on the trails and tadpoles. I was out with my glasses, and I'm looking around like, oh, there's tadpoles all around me, and you can see fish and damselfly larvae, and
Everybody else, nature is having a fun time.
It is, yeah, and the animals are really reacting to it. I think some of the timing of it was okay for some of the bird species. They had fledglings, and I think like the red-winged blackbirds, I was just out with a Minnesota bound film crew last Wednesday, and the fledglings could fly. They could get up on the cattails. A few weeks earlier, their nest is down low. They would have got flooded out.
That's right.
Yeah,
I never thought about that.
It would have impacted, I think, a little bit of the population there. So I think the timing was okay with some of the species that nest down in the cattails. And I think for a few, we're not positive, but we're pretty certain that we have two kind of special 2 least bitterns in the park. We're assuming they're nesting there, and they wouldn't have their young yet, but it's early enough for when it does reseed, or even at the water level now, they can rebuild the nest and go up a little higher. So, animals are really adaptable. They'll obviously see what happens and they'll react to it and either rebuild their nests a little higher or skip a season. Or, a lot of our bird species too, they'll have several broods a summer. So really a lot of them are on their first round of babies. Some maybe, that one's a wash and they'll go on to the second one. And the waters will hopefully go down.
Now, in terms of the plant life, does a flood situation actually serve as kind of to renew some of the plant life, or does some of it die and take maybe another season to come back, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think because it's a wetland, it's kind of like a big sponge, and the plants that are in our wetland are really adapted to be in water, and the forest surrounding it, it's a low riparian forest, so it's the same forest type you're going to see down like in the Minnesota, Mississippi River valleys. It's primarily silver maple, cottonwood, and these trees can withstand floods and a lot of water in their roots and stuff, so they'll rebound just fine, no problems. So most of the plants, though, for the most part, are water aquatic plants, and they'll do just fine.
And they'll be happy to have all that water.
Yeah, they'll be happy.
Oh, that's great. Your specialty or your love, maybe you mentioned before we went on camera, is birding?
It's definitely birding.
And talk a little bit about that.
Yes, I'm kind of having my secret. Now it's out of the bag, so to speak. My own little big year this year. So I started up the beginning of the year. I went up to the Zaxton Bog, and I got a lot of the northern species that you wouldn't see this far south. So like the great gray owls, northern hawk owls, things like that. And then I did a lot of early birding when certain shorebirds came back and a migratory waterfowl. Then I went down to Texas, and as the majority of the migrants were crossing the Gulf, I did a coastal trip, and we were able to see over 150 species, so it was really good. And then, as they came north, I came home, and I saw a lot of species here, and took a trip up to Itasca State Park recently and got a few of the species I was missing as they passed through the Twin Cities area. So yeah, I love looking at birds and learning calls and learning how to identify them. I think it makes me a better naturalist. As visitors come to Wood Lake, I often will lead bird hikes, and I think as we see birds, with students and stuff, it connects us culturally too, because I see so many students from around the world, and a lot of students, in Richfield coming from Mexico and in other countries in Central America.
Too.
Yeah, and so these birds really aren't our birds because they spend half their year in the countries where a lot of these students are from. So I think it really connects us culturally, and you see kids kind of perk up when you say, do you know that this bird spends the winter in Mexico? And they'll say, well, my family's from Mexico, and you just start to form a connection with them.
Right away.
So I think they're a great kind of avenue to teach with students and connect with them.
Yeah, I never thought about that. I mean, they say this is a Minnesota bird.
Yeah.
But Like you say, Mexico has an equal claim to
Right,
the
I
Mexico
know.
bird.
I hear a lot of people say, I love our Orioles. I'm like, but they're only here really like 3-4 months out of the year. They're really, like Brazil's Orioles too, or Peru's Orioles. They're there half the year too. So I think we just think they're ours, but they're everybody's.
Yep, yeah.
Yep.
That is a connection.
Yeah.
And it's the equal connection with the monarchs and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's a movement now to make our gardens and whatnot, bees and monarchs in particular. Talk about, is Woodlake encouraging that too as it meets the public? So
Yeah, so we do have an apiary. We have a beekeeper, so we do a lot of education about bees. And as a lot of people know, their populations are declining significantly. It's great. Scientists are able to really pinpoint the causes. So we do a lot of education, and now that we're kind of figuring out why they're declining, I think we can talk more about the specifics. But definitely we talk with homeowners about certain plantings they can have to attract monarchs, such as milkweed and blazing star. Different prairie plants have a lot of nectar that will draw them in, and also with honeybees too, like just creating a yard that can attract them so they can have a healthy life cycle and make their yummy honey.
Okay.
Yep.
And unfortunately, we've running out of time here. I'm
Yes.
sure there's a lot more we could talk about. But Amy, I know you're busy, and I know you have lots of other things to do, so I have to express my appreciation for you willing
thanks.
to share this
Yeah.
time with us.
Yep.
And I just can't say how happy I am that you're here for
thank
Woodlake.
you. Yeah.
Because that's such an important part of Richfield, really.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm a lucky girl. It's a great place and a great resource to the community.
Okay. And to my audience, thank you and good night.